A few weeks ago, I asked you Fanco fanatics to give me your most wanted questions, the things you need to know about this upcoming season. And you absolutely delivered. I went through 500 plus wrestling questions and found 10 that kept coming up time and time again. And the first question that came up is, what is going on with AJ Ferrari? What happened to him? Will he be back this season? Well, let's take a step back and look at the timeline of events. In 2021, he won a national title at 197 pounds with Oklahoma State. The following season, that was this past year, he did start the season, was wrestling, was undefeated. Then he got into a pretty serious car accident that took him out for the remainder of the season. I believe he went through a surgery, and then we didn't really hear anything else about him, just that he was healing up, ready to come back. Well, over the summer, when things were a little bit quiet, we found out that he was dismissed from Oklahoma State's wrestling team due to some personal matters happening off the mat. Since that time, he's been going through some legal battles. We don't know exactly what has been going on or what the situation with all of that is, and those seem to be ongoing, but he is still posting all of these things to social media about him training with his brother, about him lifting weights, fighting MMA, and I think that we're going to see him start doing some of that stuff rather than come back for another season to another team. Maybe he comes back the second semester. I have my doubts about that. I don't think it's going to happen. Definitely out for the first semester, but we'll see what happens after that. And the second question is kind of similar, but deals with another wrestler returning. That's two-time national champion Gable Steveson. What's going on with him, and will he be back? Well, after winning that Olympic gold and then winning his second national title and another Hodge trophy, he actually left his shoes on the center of the mat, indicating that he was going to retire. But he's been posting the things on social media about whether he should come back this year. Yes, he does have a year of eligibility. If he wanted to return, he absolutely could. But the other thing that we found out recently was he went through a heart procedure. And with that heart procedure, that was back in September, he has recovered from that. But the WWE, as he was continuing to train to be in the WWE, which is his lifelong dream, actually set up a remote training center for him to train there. And in the article that ESPN put out about all this stuff, Gable actually said that he's 100% in for training for the WWE. Could he return this year? Yes. I doubt it. I mean, this is his shot at the lifelong dream of being in the WWE. I think he just continues to go forward with that. The third question is kind of a fun one, an opinionated one. Not nearly as fun as the eighth question on this list, which I think is kind of funny. But the question here is Penn State going to dominate again? Penn State won the national title last year and absolutely annihilated the rest of the field with 5 national champions. The question is, can they do it again this year? It's looking pretty likely that it's going to happen. With the mass exodus of seniors from so many other schools, Penn State actually is looking pretty good. They lost Nick Lee at 141 pounds, who was one of their 5 national champions, but all other 4 of their national champions are back. Are they going to dominate? Probably. Will there be another school that can go against them? Possibly. I mean, I think Iowa's going to give them a run for their money. Michigan has a pretty tough team. Arizona State is looking tougher than you probably think, as well as Mizzou has a solid lineup. So I guess this season we'll just have to let it play out. And on a similar note, the next most asked question is, will Penn State have 5 national champions again? I actually did a whole video about this on the Fanco Wrestling channel with who could be that 5th champion. But Roma Bravo Young is returning at 133, Carter Sirachi at 174, Aaron Brooks at 184, and Max Dean at 197. All 4 of those guys are looking like favorites to win it this year. Now, they all do have competition at their weight. I mean, RBY and Dayton Fix is going to be a tough one. Carter Sirachi and Makai Lewis went into overtime last year. Max Dean and Jacob Warner, I mean, that's a tough Iowa versus Penn State battle. And Parker Ketkheisen and Trent Hidley are nipping at Aaron Brooks' heels. So assuming even all 4 of those guys win again, they still need one more guy. Is it likely that somebody else could? I mean, I don't know about likely. It's possible. It's definitely possible. I think the best chance here is probably Greg Kirkfleet, but the heavyweight field is pretty darn loaded. Can Penn State get 5 again? possibly, and they would be the first team ever to get 5 champions 2 seasons in a row, and they'd also be the first team to get 5 champions on 3 separate occasions, which just blows my mind. All right, let's move away from Penn State for a second, but still stay on this topic of teams, because your next question you asked was, are there any underrated teams? And yes, there are a few, but the one right now that pops out to me, and it does pain me to say this because I don't like the university, but the University of Pittsburgh. Pitt has a top team this year, one that may end up surprising you. It's made up of a lot of tough Western Pennsylvania talent, but some of their top guys right now are Cole Matthews at 141. He's one of the top guys at the weight now that a lot of those guys have left already and gone away, with Nick Lee and Jaden Ironman and Sebastian Rivera. Next up, you have Mickey Philippi at 133. He has a win over Dayton Fix. It was from a few years ago, and he's made the round of 12 on multiple occasions. This is the season that he can be looking to break into that. On top of that, you have another national finalist in Nino Bonacorsi. Bonacorsi made the finals in 2021 at 197 pounds and is a definite threat at that weight. Not only that, but they have a lot of transfers into the team and guys who've just been sticking around like it's finally their time to shine. And I'm not just talking like on the national stage, but look, in the ACC, Pitt has a legitimate threat to, like, a legitimate shot to win the ACC title. They have a good dual meet team, and they'll be going up against Virginia Tech, NC State, and North Carolina. They'll be going up with the best of them. Don't be surprised if they pull it out. The 6th question that came up was, how do you even watch wrestling this season? And I know this is made very difficult with all these different streaming platforms, and wrestling is already kind of a niche sport, so it's tough to figure all that out. I can't get into every team right here, but I'll give you a basic overview of what I would do, if you don't know how to watch, this is how you watch. First of all, a lot of the main big tournaments that if you're interested in those, like Cliff Keen, Southern Scuffle, a lot of the open tournaments in the NWCA All-Star Classic, those are all streaming on Flow Wrestling. Not only do they have college tournaments, but they have high school tournaments and international events as well. Flow Wrestling is $150 per year. The next thing is Big Ten Plus. Those are all of the non-prime time Big Ten duels. So that's $69 for the season. You're not going to be able to watch Penn State and Iowa on there, but if you want to watch some of the other duels that happen, those are all on the Big Ten Plus. ESPN Plus has most of the other wrestling conferences. I would say like 70 to 80% of all the other duels are on ESPN Plus. I know their prices just went up. It's like $9.99 a month now, but throughout the season, it's not bad. And then there's Rockfin. Rockfin has a lot of solid events. Wranglemania is on there. That's a journeyman event. And the collegiate wrestling duels coming up in December are what you want to watch on Rockfin. That's $9.99 a month. But probably the best bang for your buck, and if you don't have cable, what I would do is subscribe to Hulu Live TV, because not only do you get the Big Ten Network, where you can watch Penn State and Iowa and all the other Big Ten duels, you can watch also the ACC Network. They have ESPN Plus included with the subscription, and you also get ESPN, ESPN2, and ESPNU, where you can watch every round of the NCAA championships. Granted, that's $69 a month, so that's a hefty cost, but if you're a major wrestling fan, that's the way I would definitely go. Next is question number 7 out of 10, and that's, who is my top dark horse? Now, I get into every single one of my dark horses at every single weight in my upcoming Ultimate Guide to the College Wrestling season, so stay tuned for that if that's something you really want to know about. But as far as my top overall dark horse, I would probably have to say it's the guy in the MAC. And I'm between kind of 2 guys here, either Quinn Kinner or Anthony Noto. But I'm going with Noto of Lock Haven at 125 pounds. I don't necessarily think he's like a threat to win a title over Spencer Lee or anything, but I think he's definitely a threat to make the stand and make some waves. Last season, he had an undefeated regular freshman year, won a MAC title, and then he just, he upset, well, the good and bad. One, he upset Drew Hildebrand of Penn State at the national tournament in the first round, which was a big, big win. But then this is the bad part, he ran into Nick Suriano that next round, lost, and then he lost to Noah Certain of Mizzou and lost again and ended up losing out of the tournament. Now, Certain ended up making the round of 12, so it's like, he's right there with the best of them, and if he gets a better draw this year, has a better regular season now that he's kind of proven himself a bit, I think he's definitely a dark horse. And the next question goes right off of that, and it's question number 8, which is my favorite one. It made me chuckle a little bit because it was, who is going to win at 125 pounds? Now, maybe you are new to wrestling, or maybe you just actually honestly think this weight class is crazy wide open, but who's going to win? There's probably going to be a Spencer Lee at the top of the podium. Now, I'm not just putting him up there. I know he has 2 hurt ACLs that he's recovered from since had that surgery, but it's probably still bothering him just slightly. And with Pat Glory of Princeton coming in hot for him, as well as a lot of these other guys who, they want to be that guy who upsets the Spencer Lee, one of the greatest wrestlers of our time. But Spencer Lee's probably going to end up at the top of the podium. At least that's my prediction. And so the next natural question became, can anybody top Spencer Lee or Yianni D? Spencer Lee is going for his 4th title, as I've already said, but Yianni Diakomihalis of Cornell is also going for his 4th title, and that's why this year could be more historic than any other year in college wrestling history. Now, can anybody beat them? Sure. It's wrestling. Crazier things have happened. Now, these are 2 of the elite guys in all of college wrestling. So I have my doubts that anybody will beat them. But can anybody beat them? Well, the best chances, I would probably say, for either of these guys, one for Spencer Lee is probably Pat Glory of Princeton. With Spencer Lee's injury, maybe he finds a way to beat him. And Yianni D, I mean, he wrestles crazy, but another guy who wrestles crazy is Wisconsin's Austin Gomez, and he's 1 toss away from something crazy happening. Do I think it's likely to happen? No, but could it happen? Yeah, like I said, it's wrestling. and that actually reminded me of another question that I saw, which I gotta tell you, I'll give that as a bonus question. But first, let's talk about question number 10, which is, who are all of the top freshmen? Now, I can't list out every single one of the top freshmen here, so I'll just give you my top freshmen, and if you want to learn more about that, you can check them out in my ultimate guide to the college wrestling season. But the top freshman this season, wrestling this year, is Patty Gallagher of Ohio State. He's a 157-pounder who has had multiple incredible high school accolades, winning the Ironman, winning Fargo, having great matches at Who's Number 1. He won 2 Ohio State Wrestling Championships, and on top of that, he had a pretty solid redshirt season last year. I think he's going to be a threat this year. We'll see just how big of a threat. 157 is a weight class that I think is winnable, and maybe Ohio State, who has had success with freshmen winning national titles, gets another one this year. All right, and that bonus question is from somebody who directly asked me, who is the best wrestler outside of the Big Ten not named Yianni? Now, the reason I was laughing about this a little bit is because Yianni is not in the Big Ten. He wrestles at Cornell, which is part of the EIWA. But outside of the Big Ten and outside of Yianni, the best wrestler that I can think of is probably Keegan O'Toole of Mizzou. For my full pound-by-pound rankings, who is the top wrestler in the entire country out of everybody in every weight class, you can watch this video.